Hello fellow YouTubers, welcome back to YouTube Gaming Community number 125. So, I hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a great weekend, busy but great. One of those weekends where I wasn't pretty much very little contact with YouTube at all this weekend. Which is why I have less channel videos to shout out, because I didn't have as much time as I usually do. The only contact I had with the internet this week was my cell phone. And to understand, the only thing I could really do at YouTube on my cell phone is approve friendship requests, or I could answer comments, but it would literally take me a half hour to do each, because you gotta do, okay, 3 times for L, and forget, this is just not worth it. I can look at comments, but I can't really, comment to them with the phone. So that was all of any access I had this weekend to YouTube. Yesterday was kind of a cool day, because my wife had this mom's group thing she was doing. She was doing these activity kits for everybody that people gave her stuff, so there was stuff all over the house yesterday. And so because she's trying to put these things together and had a friend come over to help, me and my son went over to her friend's house because her husband was there. He's one of the guys who asked me about the 360 and Connect, so I packed up my 360 and all my games, which packing up all my games was kind of a mistake, because the 2 kids were there, so that automatically means I couldn't play any mature games, shooters, or beat 'em ups, because those just were not appropriate. And so, ironically, of all the games he got excited for was Transformers War for Cybertron, because he's an 80s cartoon person like I was. And I brought my Elite because the HDMI, to show the best possible graphics, and also because I had that wireless modem that cost me more than it should have, but that's another time. And so I hooked that up, and he was blown away, first of all, by the graphics, and of course because it was a prequel to the original cartoon. He played through the first chapter of the game, did a really good job. There was no point where he almost died or anything like that. He's one of those guys, it's funny, we're talking, he loves harder games. He doesn't like easy games. He likes the older style, the games that are really hard, and that, there's some accomplishment to it, not just a game that holds your hand. So the next game we played was Peggle, and we played against each other. And Peggle is just simply fun. I don't care. Anybody who plays Peggle will simply get addicted to that game. That game is just a fun game. And then the last thing we did was we hooked up the Xbox Live to his wireless network, and I showed him all this stuff on Xbox Live. And it's funny to see someone who doesn't keep up with all the latest game news and game systems. He was blown away all the stuff you do about Xbox Live. The ESPN, you could play Netflix on there, Hulu Plus, Facebook, Twitter, just all the content on there. And he asked me the price, and I told him he was blown away. And then I explained some of the things that were coming in the future. And it was just funny to see his reaction, because you think of a video game system as just video games, not all that extra stuff. So that was really cool. The other reason why he was interested in the Xbox 360 along with the other guy I know is because, just like in my house, they only play their Wii probably every 3 to 6 months. One of the problems is, like my son, we bought my son the half the size of the Wii controller, the small kid controller that came out, and he likes cars. We've seen that movie 1,000 times or something like that, but he has a hard time with the motion control controlling the game, and he gets frustrated. And so we bought it for him on the 360, and he just seems to have an easier time with the controller. So the younger kids have a hard time doing the motion control stuff. So that's how that went. Now let's get to our topic this time around, and it is, I got a message from somebody, and I'm not going to mention his name because I didn't tell him I was going to talk about it, and I don't want to put his name out there to talk about, but I know I've probably talked about this topic at one point or another, but what do you expect when you do a shout-out video? We're going to get into the positive and negatives of doing a shout-out video too, because there are negatives. But first, what do you expect when you do a shout-out video? For me, if I ever did one outside of these videos, what I expect out of a shout-out video, nothing from the person I shout out, first of all. I won't expect them to comment to my video. I won't expect them to put me on a checkout channel list. I don't expect a message from them. I hope that people will check out the channels I shout out. That would be the only thing I hope out of a shout out video. I think a lot of time people shout people out and they expect that person to leave a comment saying, "Thanks for the shout out." Number one, if you do not tag that channel in the tags in the video, it's going to be, first of all, very hard for that person to find your video. Unless somebody tells them about it, or I've done this before where I watch a video and they mention me real quick in the video, but if they didn't, and I don't expect them to send it to me, I think that's, you know, kind of wrong. Hey, here's a shout out video. But if they had tagged me, I might have been able to find it. And I'm like, sometimes like, wow, I can't believe they shouted me out. I just happened upon that video. And number two, if they get a lot of shout outs in videos, they may have missed your video, or maybe they'll come on upon a later time. You can't expect the person to find 3 months, 6 months, heck, it may be years before they actually find your video you shouted them out in. That's not the reason you do a shout out. The reason you do a shout out is because it's a channel that you think people should know about and you like their content and you want to support them. That's the reason why you do a shout out. You don't, like my checkout channel list. Anybody I've ever put on my checkout channel list, I like their content or I like that person. It is not about, if I do not like their content, I'm not going to put somebody on there, because to me, number one, it's wrong. It's a disservice to myself for not being true to who I am and what I like. Number two, it's a disservice to the people who are my, you know, subscribers and viewers, because you're not being yourself. And number three, to anybody who subscribes to your channel, who decides to subscribe to their channels, it's not right to the person that you put on that list if you do not like their content. Now let's get to the negatives of a shout out video. People are going to say, well, what negatives could there be for you doing a shout out to somebody? Well, it depends on your subscriber base or your viewer base. And it sounded really professional, didn't it? And I'm just saying, because your subscriber viewer base may not care for a channel you shout out. Maybe they think they're too big, or whatever reason they don't like that person. And so you may get a negative response to that person being shouted out. You gotta remember, excuse me, when you do a shout out video, you're more likely gonna get at least one thumbs down. Because either people don't like that guy, or number two, or girl, excuse me, you didn't shout them out. I probably think it's the second one most of the time. You always see those videos, you get that funny comment where like, haha, why didn't you shout me out, or can you shout me out next time? They're trying to be funny, but they're not. They're really crying about the fact you didn't shout them out. Which, to be honest with you, the other thing is, no matter how many people you shout out, somebody is going to always be upset you did not shout them out. You got to be very aware of that when you do a shout out video. People think just because you maybe left a comment to their channel, or you talk to them all the time, that you should shout them out. That is not true at all. You shout out only the people and channels content you like and you want to support. I don't expect anybody who's commented, if they've commented every one of my videos or commented one, to put me in a shout out video. I expect they put people they like in there. So, what do you expect when you do a shout out video, and what do you think people should expect? Now I'll read some of those comments next video. And let me say this also, by the way, if you shout out a big channel or someone who is a journalist who happens to have a YouTube channel, more likely, especially someone who's tied to any kind of video game magazine or any kind of TV network, they're probably never, well, number one, they probably don't respond to their comments, and they'll never see it. Because their YouTube channel is just, is in a sense an extension of what they do for that magazine or what they do for that channel, and it's really more that than them actually a personal thing. So let's get to some comments from YouTube gaming community number 124, where basically the topic was, what 80 cartoon would you like to be turned into a video game? Or maybe it was turned into a video game, but you'd like to see it done today. And the first comment I have is actually a question to me, and it's from Games of War, and he said, just wondering if you own Outrun 2 for the original Xbox. Man, that game is awesome. No, I do not. I actually don't have that many games for the original Xbox, because I have two Xbox. One I got for $3 at a garage sale this year, and one I picked up the year before. And both have hard drive, either it's the hard drive issue or it's the disk drive issue, because when I put a game in, it'll play for like 2-3 minutes, and all of a sudden it'll say can't read disk or something like that, no matter what game I put in. So I haven't really gotten a lot of games for that, since they both don't really work, and I haven't looked into fixing them yet. Next up is Vash 87 or Rally B. Outrun is awesome. I enjoy the recent Avengers cartoon very much. It would be great to see a beat 'em up like game based on the series. A Gargoyle game would be cool too. You know, Gargoyles was one of the main cartoons I watched in the early 90s. I love that cartoon. Unfortunately, we probably won't see another game for that. But as for Avengers, I don't know if you'll see another beat 'em up. Maybe you'll see him you'll probably, the only place you'll see him is in like a Marvel vs. Capcom game, unfortunately. There are so many characters in the Marvel Universe, they really only put a small amount in the Marvel vs. Capcom game. I hope this one around they do a lot of DLC for it, so at least, you know, people will have a bigger roster to play with, hopefully. Next up is J-Boy Pac-Man. He said, the cartoons I like to see made into video games, Inhumanoids, which I vaguely remember that cartoon. His number 2 game would be Visionaries. His number 3 would be Mighty Orbots. You know, I've heard a lot of people talk about that, but I can't remember seeing that show. I'm gonna have to find it and check it out. Janice and the Wheeled Warriors, and then Spyro Zone. I don't remember most of those, to be honest with you. I probably saw them at one point, I just don't remember. That old timer thing kicking in. Next up, the Frugal Gamer said, I don't know about cartoons, but I like to see a Doctor Who made into a good game. The last thing I ever heard of a Doctor Who game, it's been a while, where they're talking about doing an episodic game, you know, kind of like what Telltale Games does. But I haven't heard about it in a long time, so I don't know if they're going to do one. Ironically enough, this weekend me and my wife, we DVR'd it. We actually finally watched the season finale for the current season of Doctor Who, which I do like Doctor Who a lot, and I like to see the ending of this season a lot. It was funny watching that and then seeing the toys are coming out over here, so that was really cool. But as Gamefront news, I don't know if there is going to be one coming out or not. It would be cool if they made a good one, you know. Next up is X Cornmuffin X. I just noticed there is a Voltron game being made for Xbox Live. I don't know anything about it, but an achievement list just popped up. Also, there was a Thundercats game already on the Amiga and probably other computers as well. I think there might be a Masters of the Universe game in development now too. Still no love for Mysterious Cities of Gold or Spartacus and the Sun Beneath the Sea though. Man, long titles. Yeah, I know. I'm surprised those great shows never have gotten a game. But Voltron, I'm not surprised. There have been so many remakes of the Voltron cartoon. I'm not surprised they're making a game. The question is, which series will they be making it on? And I know a lot of these series that talk about G.I. Joe or Thundercats or have had a game made, G.I. Joe, earlier. But a lot of those games are made back in like the early computer days and then like the NES days, and they're very a vague game of the series. It'd be cool if they could do it today with today's technology, and it'd be amazing how they could do like a G.I. Joe game. Imagine a G.I. Joe game where they could put in every single character and every single vehicle in that game. That would be awesome. So anyway, let's get into videos to check out. Again, a short list because I didn't have much time to be on YouTube this week. But the first one is by CherubicWindigo, 5 stars, Dance Central, and Splinter the Rat. So the first cool thing in the video was one of the people living in their apartment moved out, and they had a housebroken rat, and they let it go, abandoned it. And so she happened to see it outside crowing in the bushes, and she brought it inside, and now she's taking care of it, which is cool. First of all, I don't like anybody who abandons their pet. I think if you have a pet, you have a responsibility to find that thing a good home. Years ago when we took my dog, who's now passed away, to dog training. He was older, really dog training didn't really take, but there was a little Beagle Basset female. It was only like 18 months old. This dog was afraid to pant because their owner beat that dog so badly. The dog was afraid to go next to people for some reason, whatever. He went to our dog and went next to us, and the owners were shocked because they've been trying to get the dog, you know, to do anything, and they were just shocked to train that dog for whatever reason. Took to our dog, and I know why it took to our dog. But ironically, that dog was abandoned. But it was abandoned. I don't think it was abandoned like. I think what happened was it was abandoned at birth, because I found it where I was working at the time. it was outside of any sim limits. And one day someone who worked there happened to see the dog, and they had no home to go to, so my wife wanted a dog and I brought it home and she fell in love with it. So just getting a long way to talk about the video, but anyway, so it's cool she took it in. Next up though, she at the end of the video, for fun, she gets 5 stars playing Dance Central under Lady Gaga's Poker Face. So if you want to see that, check that out. Next up is NecroVMX Pinball Quest NES with commentary. So if you've never seen Pinball Quest on the NES, it has more than just basic pinball. There's RPG and other stuff mode to it. So if you're interested, check that out. Next is DinkyDana, how to co-op in Dark Souls. So I know a lot of people who've gotten this game have had a hard time co-oping or getting their friends to co-op, and DinkyDana explains how to do it. So if you want to do it in the game, check that out. Next up is VintageVideoGameGeek CGR Unboxing 2011. CGR stands for Classic Games Revisited. It's a website which actually ironically it's run by a fellow YouTuber, which he shouts out in this video. But he does get some really cool games. He gets some really cool like promotional like catalogs and posters he shows you in the video, and the boxing from the store is really cool. It's like an old NES system looking like boxing. So if you're interested, check that out. Next up is SplatterTrigger XSEED Games online store. So XSEED Games has just opened their online store. Unfortunately, they're only shipping to North America right now, but SplatterTrigger explains all the stuff they got in the store you could get, like stuff they had at recent shirts at recent game shows and all this other extra stuff. If you're interested, check that video out. And last but not least, GoldenJellyBean, the adorable baby Mario. She made a cool little baby Mario, so if you're interested, check that out. So guys, that is it for now. I will see you guys on Wednesday.